Hello and welcome to the Beauty Industry Podcast, your online support community for the professional beauty industry. I am your host, founding director of Beauty Industry, Tamara Reid. Here we are closing the competitive gap and speaking your language. This is a platform created and dedicated to the professional beauty industry, valuing community over competition. We serve to help connect you with inspiration from industry experts, expand your knowledge through educational pieces, and bring you the latest in product and technology innovation. This is Beauty Industry. Today is episode 6 of 7 for our mini-series, The 7 Essential Steps That Turn an Average Treatment into an Exceptional Experience, brought to you by the Global Beauty Group. Step number 6 explores the close for the purpose of prescribing in the treatment room, connecting the prescription back to the client concern as per the lifestyle, and also connecting on their behavioural type. Following on from last week's step 5 being the treatment, today we are finishing up the treatment and directing our client towards recommendations and prescriptions. Quietly and gently let your client know that the treatment has now come to an end and that you would like them, when they're ready, to hop up and get themselves dressed, and advise them that when they are dressed to leave the door slightly ajar or open, and that you're going to be returning to the room with a glass of water to recap today's treatment and show them the results. It's important at this stage that you give the client direction as to how and where you would like them to move, because chances are if you have performed an exceptional treatment, then they're probably a little sleepy and super relaxed by now. We advise the client to leave the door slightly ajar when they're getting dressed for an indication that it's safe to return to the room. This stops any knocking that can be heard between treatment room walls, is nothing worse, and it allows the client to have some control over getting themselves sorted for the treatment. Personally, I don't like to ask the client if they would like a tea or water at the end of their treatment, as I think that it slightly complicates things if they have to make a decision in their sleepy, relaxed state. So I like to just tell them that I'll be bringing back in a water, making that decision for them. During the time that the client is getting themselves dressed and ready for your return, you should be gathering a couple of the following items. The water, of course. Sometimes we run around in, the back of the staff room, we're grabbing products, we're grabbing treatment menus, and then we forget about bringing the water in that we told them that we were going to bring in. So a water is imperative. Definitely a mirror, your treatment brochure, and the products that you're going to be recommending. Please make sure that either you know the prices to the treatments and the products that you're recommending, or have these written down on a prescription pad or a branded piece of paper so that your client can see what they need to invest in today. Otherwise, how can they say yes or no if they don't know what the price is? It's like us walking around a supermarket or walking around a department store. If we can't see the price, what do we think? We think it's probably too expensive and I'm not going to ask about it. So if we show the price, the client's more likely to be able to say yes or no to that investment today. Touching on price, I'd like to stay here for a minute because I can already feel some of you stressing out. And if you are stressing out when I say price or money or investment, then you, my friend, have a little money story. Now, a money story is something that you've actually created in your mind around money, and you, without even knowing it, you don't even know that this pathway exists. You're telling yourself this story every single time you deal with money. And I am here to tell you that what is in your purse is not what is reflected in your client's purse. That is true. That is what we know. If you have $2, they might have 20. Maybe you have 200 and they have 2,000, or maybe you have 2,000 and they have 20,000. Who the heck knows? Many therapists have said to me in the past, Tamara, our clients don't buy, they don't spend money, they can't afford it, they won't pay that price. Literally, the list goes on. I want you to ask yourself a question. Has the client told me this today? No. And to be quite honest, I actually think it's a little bit rude of us to assume that the client can or cannot afford a product or a treatment, and even more rude, if we assume that they can't afford it and we don't show them that in the first place. It's like when you go into Louis Vuitton and you don't get served. How annoyed are you at the salesperson? Super annoyed, right? You may have been given $3,000 or $5,000 for your birthday to spend to go specifically into Louis and buy a bag, but the person at the counter assumes because you're wearing leggings or you're wearing jeans that you can't afford the bag. So we should just never assume. I love to use this example when I'm teaching teams because it happens to me so often. When I go and get my laser hair removal done, I can go either during the week or on the weekend, right? When I go during the week, normally for work, I do wear quite nice clothes. I wear something that's Witchery or Country Road or Maya or whatever. And I've got my high heels on, I've got my nice bag on, my laptop, and I've got makeup on, so I look the part. When I go in on a weekend, I have most likely just come from being at the gym or out with a walk from my girlfriends, and my hair's in a little top knot. It's all sweaty and gross. I'm in my gym gear, my active wear, I've got my runners on. And the difference that I am treated from a weekday when I'm looking like that to a weekend when I'm looking like that is so crazy. On a weekday, I'm showed all the products, all the treatments. I'm trying to sell, people try to sell to me, right? $2,000 packages versus on a weekend, therapists look at me and they just dismiss me immediately. Now, on a weekday and on the weekend, I've got the same amount of money in my bank account. So it's absolutely crazy to me that we are doing this. So I want you to start to take our emotions and our personal feelings about money and product and investment and all of the things out of the prescription and know that we are recommending the products because it is truly going to have an impact on your client's concern, which PS they have asked you to help them with. So when they get the results and they return to us in the professional space, this is life-changing. This is what I want you to remember. We are not salespeople for a reason. We recommend, and we recommend with integrity and value and heart. Community, I'm just popping in here for a little mention of our mini-series sponsor, the Global Beauty Group. I adore that the Global Beauty Group lives and breathes their mission of making people feel wonderful. With over 25 different technologies available, including the Medilux LED and the Observe Skin Analysis Machine, the Global Beauty Group connects businesses of all sizes with the best and brightest in the industry. Paired with rapid response technical support, professional clinical guidance, expert marketing advice, and industry-leading educational programs, their multi-award winning team ensures your business grows beautifully with aesthetic technology. Phone the team at the Global Beauty Group today on 1300 006 607, or you can visit www.theglobalbeautygroup.com.au for more information. And now, back to the episode. Now, you may have caught on to the fact that I said I would love you to return to the room to prescribe, and this is true. This is not an overstatement. I want you to return to the room because the treatment room is the safe space. So technically, the treatment is still happening while your client is in the room, right? You've just built all of this trust, credibility, you've got this beautiful energy in the room. This connection carries on when you're prescribing if your client stays in the room. What happens if you let the client leave the room? Chances are, first thing we do in today's day and age is we turn on our phone. We get missed calls come through, text messages alerting us about kids, hubby, asking what's for dinner. We get emails from work. We start to look for our keys. We find a parking ticket. Life starts again and we are distracted as clients. So do you have a chance of prescribing here while your client's checked out of the treatment? She's looking for things, she's going on to the next appointment? Not really. So when we return to the room, we've got a better chance of this. And plus, we're not talking about the client's laser package or pigment package or anti-wrinkle package in front of the waiting area where there are other clients who we may very well know. When you return to the room, the first thing I want you to ask your client is, Mary, how are you feeling after your treatment? Or if they've had a skin treatment, how does your skin feel? Some therapists go back into the room straight away with an agenda to sell, and they forget about this. We forget about all that hard work we've just done and we go straight into the close. I'd rather you go back in the room and remind your client just how you've made them feel during that entire treatment time than anything. If you've had a skin treatment, hand them a mirror so that they can actually see that the result is pretty impressive and that they can actually have a look at those immediate improvements that you and your magic treatment and your products have just created for them today. Start with recapping your education. I'm sure we've all learnt how to write essays in high school, and whether you remember how or not, the one thing your teacher always would have told you was in the introduction, you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. In the middle, you're going to tell them. And in the end, the conclusion, you're going to tell them what you just told them. And that's exactly what you're going to do today. You're going to tell them all about that education that you told them during the diagnosis. So you might like to say something like, so as Mary, we mentioned during your diagnosis that your pigment is quite visible from the surface of the skin, and we can too see some underlying deeper pigment that's starting to come through to the surface. If I could just reiterate that, the coffee you mentioned, your stress levels and all of the fun things that you're doing on the weekend, like having your cheeky wine and, going out and driving and things like that, these are all contributing to the concern of the pigment that you told me about. Now, what you'll notice that I'm doing here is I'm actually helping my client to remember why she has come in to see me today, which is her concern. And I'm helping her to remember that it's her accountability, right? That she needs to take for the lifestyle, which is creating that concern. Now we introduce the product. Picking up the product and giving it to your client is quite a powerful way to actually get them to take ownership of something. When we have something in our hands, we feel like it's ours. It's just a psychological thing. So giving the client the product as you talk about it is quite powerful. You can say something to your client like, Mary, you may remember that I mentioned a pigment blocking serum, which would be the best option for your skin. And this is that product. It's the Dermalist All Serum that can be applied morning and night after cleansing, before your SPF or before your nighttime moisturizer. Additional to that would also be this exfoliant, which I would suggest to assist with the pigment coming to the surface, and the Dermalist Factor 50 will prevent any future pigment from being stimulated. You may have noticed here that I recommended 3 products, and why 3, you ask? Well, clients like choice. So if I was to say to you, would you like an apple? You might say no. If I was to say to you, would you like an apple or an orange? Then you might say, yes, I'll have the orange. So you like choice and so does your client. So showing them 3 products, you're most likely got a better opportunity to recommend them one, rather than if you recommended one, they're probably going to take none. The 3 products is also showing the client that this is a journey and that not one product is a miracle worker. If she has products at home, or he, then this is going to transition them and show them that pathway as they finish those products and come onto our professional ranges. Speaking of ranges, one of my pet peeves is when therapists talk about other ranges or other products in a bad light. This is not on. All professional products are amazing, organic or performance-based, it doesn't matter. All professional ingredients are great. If a client loves a product and gets a result, then that is a great product for them. Please do not ever talk negatively about another product range. It is bad therapist practice, and hence why at Beauty Industry we showcase all of the product ranges, because we are unaligned to any one range. If it's professional, it has a place in the treatment room. When you're talking to your clients, you do want to connect back with the person who's sitting in front of you. And as we mentioned during the consultation, there are 4 main types of clients that we can tailor our language to better connect with them. For example, just to recap that episode, you may have a client who is direct, dominant, demanding, decisive, and really determined. And your approach to them should be the same. It should be confident. You should be really strong, and you should hold steady eye contact. You may like to use gestures to emphasize your points, and also leaning forward shows that you know what you're talking about, and it gives you the impression that you're a little bit more confident, even if you're a little bit worried or intimidated by this client. Give this client the facts about how much the price is, how they should be applying it, and the importance of doing so to get their concern helped. These types of connection points will mimic your clients and help you communicate on their level. Another client, for example, may have been telling you stories about their friends and celebrities and chatting away the entire time, giggling, sharing personal feelings, expressing their opinions. They may be exaggerating when they're speaking about time, saying like 45 years and things like that, when they're really talking about 45 seconds. And they might be quite varied in vocal tone and a little bit dramatic. This is the Dory client I like to refer to her as. So to connect better with this client, you may like to use the words popular or bestseller. They like things that smell really beautiful and that have, quite an aesthetic or a pleasing look, and get them to feel the product while they're using lots of facial expressions and also really a fun and upbeat, vibrant tone. You'll be able to figure all of this out during your consultation. So remember to use this knowledge in your prescription so that you're not sitting there boring the client or not connecting with them on their level. So just to recap, enter back into the treatment room, be prepared with your prices and your products, and remember, you are prescribing. You're a professional therapist. You know how you talk to your friends about products when you might be at their house and you're doing your makeup on a Saturday night and you see that they're using something from the supermarket and you're like, no. And you tell them about the product knowing that you can't possibly sell it to them because, A, you're in your bedroom on the Saturday night, but you still tell it to them anyway, right? And then they might come back to you next week or a couple of weeks later when you see them and they're like, Tamara, I bought that cleanser you told me about and I love it. It is so good. Well, it's exactly like that. We should prescribe for the love of helping your clients achieve their results and expecting nothing in return. And when we can get them a result and when they do purchase the product, we know that their skin's just going to be that much better for it. Thank you so much for tuning into episode 6 of 7 for our mini series, The 7 Essential Steps That Turn an Average Treatment into an Exceptional Experience, brought to you by the Global Beauty Group. Next Monday, we complete the 7th step, our last step. I can't believe it's come this quick already. The rebooking, for the purpose of understanding the client's results that we can achieve when they do come back to us. Maintenance versus treatments, and packages versus single treatments, all for the rebooking of the client. If you have enjoyed today's episode and this mini series, make sure you click subscribe or follow in your podcast app. And two, while you're there, give us a like and share this episode across our social pages at Beauty Industry. Don't forget to tell your friends, your team, your family, your work colleagues, all of the people about this episode so that you're all on the same page and you too can print this off and pop it in your staff kitchen to share with your team, Facebook group, the written piece of this episode when our blog piece comes out on Wednesday. Thank you so much to our friends at the Global Beauty Group for making this episode possible.